Hello everyone and welcome to my channel. So if you know me for a while, you know I love dresses. I prefer dresses over pants. But sometimes you need a little bit more practicality, so going on a hike in a dress is maybe not the best choice. So for this occasion I made a pair of culottes about 2 years ago, so this is an older pattern of mine, and I always wanted to make an instruction video for these. So today is the day. Follow me along while I make this pair of culottes for my little dress form, so in half scale, which is actually pretty good for you to watch and follow. So without further ado, let's begin. The pattern is available on my website for free. You can either follow the link below the video or you go to dressdeveloper.com. Patterns. Let's select the pants. And here we have the culottes amaryllis. Create pattern. And then I select size. You can also upload your measure set with your very own measurements. And here I set the skirt length or pants length. And I add the seam allowance. Paper format is fine for now. So then I can create the pattern. Let me show you the second link first. Here you have a cover for the pattern with informations about the pattern pieces and a printing layout, so you see how you need to assemble the pattern. I need to do this one more time. And here we have the pattern itself, ready for printing. I salvaged the fabric from an old skirt of mine. The pattern is designed for woven fabrics. It can have a little bit of spandex, but I fear jersey would be too lightweight. I fear you would have a sagging crotch in jersey. So this pattern is actually not very complicated. You have just 4 pieces with 2 legs, a pocket piece and a waistband. The waistband should be cut on the fold. Since my skirt has a seam there, I just doubled the pattern piece and will cut it in one single layer. Note that there is a notch on the pattern piece which you should transfer to the fabric at one end. Then I begin with overcasting the raw edges on the legs, sides and crotch, and on the pocket pieces. I would recommend using a serger if you have one, but a zigzag stitch will do. I begin assembling the culottes with the crotch seams. So the front crotch seam can just be sewn, but I like to install an invisible zipper into the back crotch seam. This is a bit unusual in store-bought clothes, but I like it to do there because you have a very long straight seam at this point. Of course, you can just install it in the side seam if you want. Since I'm working in half scale, my zipper is a bit too long. But since you need your invisible zipper to be a bit longer than you need, I just go with it. I mark the position where the zipper opening should end with this orange clip. And when sewing, I will stop there at this point and switch to a basting stitch while sewing the rest of the seam. So here I'm sewing the back crotch. I begin at the top with the basting stitch. And when I reach the orange clip, I will backstitch and switch to a regular short stitch. Here I'm switching the stitch and sew to the end. Now I can install the zipper, and I begin by pressing the seam allowance of the back crotch open. Usually I would use a larger seam allowance for this step. It's just a bit easier with a zipper band, but again, half scale, so half seam allowance too. Now I place the zipper on top. The beginning of the zipper, you see here the slider, is placed just below the seam allowance of the top of the pants. And I do my best to center the zipper over the seam allowance. And when the zipper band gets pinned or clipped in place just to the seam allowance. Only the seam allowance. And I will now go and baste the zipper into place, just to the seam allowance. I use my zipper foot for this, and I don't try to come too close to the zipper teeth, just enough to catch the seam allowance. And repeat on the other side. Now that the zipper is sewn in place, we can pop these basting stitches we put in the crotch. I did not do a terrible good job when I basted the zipper to the seam allowance on one side, but I did make it work. And you can always come back and sew the seam again. Anyway, the zipper is in place and it does open, but it is very ugly. We don't want to see that much of the zipper. So I need to repeat this step, sewing in the zipper, this time as close as possible to the zipper teeth. There are special foots for this, I'm just using my zipper foot. This works. You do need to adjust your zipper a little bit more. And when you have sewn both sides, you have a nice and neat installed zipper. There is a little gap at the bottom, but that's fine. This is just how an invisible zipper works. You can't sew all the way down. Next is sewing the inside leg seam. I open the crotch region and place the top piece onto the back piece, right sides facing each other. The seam allowance gets pressed open and the crotch seams are carefully lined up. Then I can sew all along from one side to the other. Now to the pockets. I have already overcast them all around, and now I place them 2 and 2 with right sides facing each other, and I will sew the curved bit, starting and ending just shy of the seam allowance. We need to be able to fold the seam allowance open at this point later. The culottes then gets folded up so that the waist parts meet each other, and the right side of the fabric is facing to the inside. Like this. So basically all we need to do is to sew the side seams, but remember there are still these pocket pieces. So I will leave the matching space for the pocket pieces and simply not sew these places. On full scale I would place the pocket pieces about a hand's width below the waist. And I mark where I should stop and begin again to sew. Note the orange clips here. When the side seams are sewn, I position the pockets over these openings and clip them in place. I bring the seam allowance of the pockets together with the seam allowance of the culottes. Then I can sew the pockets in place with a zipper foot. The last pattern piece is the waistband. I've already pressed it in half with the right side to the inside, and I have pressed the seam allowance on one side up. So I hope you can actually see how it looks. It's a bit dark. And I will now sew the short sides. After that, the waistband gets turned inside out and pressed. Then the waistband gets pinned in place all around. Remember that little notch? Yeah, actually the waistband is longer on one side, so it can overlap. Remember that little notch on the pattern piece? Yes, this notch should be lined up with one side of a zipper. That's what I'm doing here. This is how it looks, and this is where we sew. I use my zipper foot again, and I use the fold line as a guide. Be careful not to catch the folded edge, which is exactly what happened to me right now. So well, happens. I just popped 1 or 2 stitches with my seam ripper and then started over at this point. The waistband is then folded over the raw edge and hand stitched in place. A couple of words about the waistband while you see me doing this. Yes, it's a very narrow waistband. This is half scale, but it's still very narrow. I like my waistbands to be quite narrow because I have a very short waist. But it should not be a problem to widen or even double the width of the waistband. Also, when you're working with a thinner fabric, I strongly recommend that you interface the waistband. While sewing, I try to only catch the seam allowance and the inside of the waistband, so you don't see any stitches from the outside. I also close the little gap below the zipper with a couple of ladder stitches. This means I catch a little bit of the top and then I catch a little bit of the bottom. So these stitches form a little ladder, and when I pull these stitches tight, they just became invisible, like magic. Oh, I also installed a hook and eye on the overlapping of the waistband, but I seem to have lost this footage. You can use a snap for this, or a skirt hook and bar. Is this what this is called? I don't have an image for you. Just something to hold the overlapping waistband closed. And then the last thing to do is to sew a simple double folded hem on the legs. And here's our result. A nice pair of very wide-legged culottes. As always, I hope you enjoyed this little video and it was of some help. If you have any questions, let me know in the comments and I'm glad to help. If you make anything from my patterns, please show me on Instagram, I would love to see them. Please check out my website and channel for more sewing videos and patterns. I hope we will see us again in the next video. Until then, bye!